Hey there, so today we are going to be talking about Alpha Tim Doyle himself. That's right, Mr. Baby Bones. We are going to return to that with regard to Ethan Van Sciver. We will be looking through Bounding into Comics too. If you are not a supporter of them, I would strongly suggest that you subscribe to them. No, I do not get any royalty kickbacks from them. They are somebody that I like out there too. I actually think that John F. Trent covers a lot of things that come up that the so-called pillars of the comic book media would ignore, or they would flagrantly participate in. When we're talking about this subject, for example, I mean, think about how many of them actively engaged in it. You, of course, have Bleeding Cool. You have Rich Johnston, everyone's favorite little hobgoblin, going out and actively attacking Ethan Van Sciver. He did at least 4 solid hit pieces on it, trying to destroy his career, plus all of the other auxiliary things, wherein he tried to tie him in to being some type of bad guy because he votes the wrong way. Can you imagine that? I mean, can you imagine that being the face of the comic book media? Is that what you want there? People that would go out and for no other reason target someone for voting the wrong way in their mind. That's what type of ideologues you meet with. We saw the same thing come out of CBR with Karen Suresh, King Impulse there. He went out and he not only attacked, but he also got his friend Asher Elbin involved. Now, Asher wanted to sell an article to The Atlantic, but of course he was turned down for that. If you keep up with that, or if say you haven't, go look up Nick Monroe and look up Ethan Van Sciver. There is a very detailed account of all of this stuff, wherein you have people like that trying to tie Ethan Van Sciver to Charlottesville when people died because he created a sketchbook a decade ago. This sketchbook here, and I would click into this image and make it larger, but it is from somebody who has blocked me. Why has Tim Doyle blocked me? Well, because, I pointed out the fact that he likes to remove agency from people while saying that people like, say, a Diversity in Comics or an Ethan Van Sciver do the same thing. He does that by actively going out and pushing this narrative wherein people don't have enough followers online or they don't use the right type of avatar. Well, of course, if you claim to be black or you claim to be homosexual you got to prove it to Tim Doyle. He won't give you that. So, of course, that is the removal of agency. All the while, they want to complain that these people are Nazis and they remove agency. Now, this is the way that he pushed it before. When you're talking about Ethan Van Sciver, here is the kill yourself tweet that it made a lot of rounds for a little while. You could go and check that out. It's actually linked to quite a few things. Basically, you have people arguing about politics. Ethan Van Sciver comes in, makes a comment I thought was kind of funny there, but of course this spun a different way. People can be arguing about stuff like that. Someone comes in and says something that I guess in current year is considered crass, but that gets spun as that person not arguing politics, but one person targeting someone that suffers from depression and suffers from all of these other issues. I mean, that's the type of spin, and it looks just like what you're seeing here. So this sketchbook, you have Sinestro on it, and then you have My Struggle across the top. Well, of course, that's being tied. You can see My Struggle, Mein Kampf. So you can see how they're trying to say he actively supports Nazis when he's making a joke about Space Hitler. They also talked about his signature. You can see it a little bit there. You can go and look up this sketchbook as well if you want a really good cover of it. But that is an homage to Iron Maiden. You're not talking about something that is trying to support any type of ideology or anything. And then this here, it's not even his own thing, but it has been tied to him. These people try to make this seem like it is something that he threw out there. But of course, Tim Doyle, he said all the time that this guy, he tries to go and point out the fallacy to argument that he's out there being a terrible human being, that he needs to be fired. And make no mistake, that's what these people have said too. Ethan Van Sciver needs to be fired from DC. He's also out there all the time trying to dance on the proverbial grave of Ethan Van Sciver's career, trying to get him fired over and over again. And you know what he managed to do? He managed to help Ethan Van Sciver grow not only a 60,000 follower YouTube account because he has a good connective ability with community, but also beyond that, that. He has managed to, so far, allow someone like Ethan Van Sciver, the connection and the currency to pick up $200,000 plus. Now, it's not obviously. Tim has nothing really to do with that, but they've showcased Ethan Van Sciver as friendly to so many other people. If you felt like an outsider within things, if you felt like the industry is falling apart, well, Van Sciver actually was somebody out there that would say, hey, come on in, we'll just talk about whatever, we'll have fun, and we'll be honest about this. All the while, too, he has preached the gospel of inclusion. He's even somebody that has gone out and said, hey, try to be nice to these people. I've disagreed with him on that because he is too nice sometimes, in my opinion, but that's because Ethan Van Sciver, well, he's Ethan Van Sciver. He's a nice guy in that. There are people that want to paint him a certain way, too, because he has his own persona. What's wrong with having your own persona? Do you remember being an artist, or do you remember looking at artists? If you're not an artist, have you ever looked at them and thought, what does that word really mean? Back in the day, that meant being the singularity, being your own person. You didn't walk lockstep. Now, these days, it means saying you're an anarchist or throwing out a bunch of buzzwords, apparently, all the while working for, a corporate monolith like Disney and so on. I mean, when you look at those things and the definition change, it's amazing sometimes. Ethan Van Sciver has that rock star mentality and had the power to back it up. He had that with what he created. Right now, I'm staring at one of his pictures on my wall. I love having, and when I look at the detailing to it, it's just amazing. He's always been there. He's always been good at stuff. And he said from time to time, he said stuff that he thinks in retrospect, maybe that was a little too crass. But at the same time, we learn, we grow, and on. And he's there actively engaging in community. And like I said, that has resonated with a lot of people to the tune of already $200,000. Now, why has Tim Doyle gone out and tried to attack him? Well, here is a beautiful explanation of the why. I mean, when you boil it down, he finally let it go. After 2 years, Exhibit A through Z is Ethan being a Trump voter. That's the thing that's a problem. Of course, it doesn't matter if you're a Trump voter if you don't walk ideologically in lockstep. I know many people that didn't vote certain ways. I did not even say who I voted for, pro or con. I haven't talked about that ever. I've talked about what I believe in social programs and on. And I don't walk ideologically in lockstep with people like, say, a Diversity in Comics or an Ethan Van Sciver. Good people. I don't judge them for that. They don't judge me for that. We all should approach things differently. We're going to have nuance and subtlety. I mean, we're talking about community, but it showcases how they want to eject people from that platform because they're different. We've seen Chuck Dixon get the same type of treatment from one of the same people that was doing that too. If you've not watched it, go and watch my live stream talk with Chuck Dixon. He is one of my childhood heroes within this stuff. So he's one of those people I was thrilled to talk to. And when I talked to him, I wasn't let down. I mean, he was a great guy within this stuff. He approached things in a manner that I was really proud of. And, it made me feel good because all of this terrible stuff that I've seen, but he is under attack. He's the nicest guy, would go out, interview with almost anyone. He even gave time to people are producing an attack piece, and yet he is still one of those. So why is he attacked? Because he votes the wrong way. It's amazing how this stuff works as bulletproofing. Now, Ethan Van Sciver said, SJWs have been harassing me, led by this fellow, for 2 years now, called a Nazi, a bigot. Rumors spread about me, which have made my life uncomfortable. If you want to look up my first videos on that, I have a playlist. I don't know if it shows, but look up Alfie Norris. Look at what these people were passing around. There are 4 portions of that. I did 4 videos to break it all down. The first portion of that is linked to an article wherein someone stalks Ethan Van Sciver's family. I mean, is really, really out of line, and yet these people want to spin it a different way, and so on. I mean, you see the tools that they've used. And they tried to tie, again, when you look at that picture here, they tried to tie this picture to Charlottesville, something created a decade before, but that didn't matter. They had to have the narrative, and they tried to destroy his life because of it. Continuing here, when asked why they are doing this to me, an answer finally comes. You saw that there. This sounds good in their heads, but it sounds pretty sick to normal people. I did vote for the president. Still glad I did. If this strikes you as cause to try to ruin someone's life, you have no place in polite society. Wrong side of history, Tim. Ash heap. Hashtag MAGA. And I would agree with what he's saying here. He is saying that if you cannot agree to disagree, that's something we talked about for the longest time. If you can't go along to get along, you don't have to agree, but you have to be able to talk. If you think that someone voting a specific way, first of all, if you think you can tag them straight off the bat as a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, and on, well, that shows a lot about you. And I think we've been way too nice about people tagging other people like that. I think when you see that, even if you don't agree with their vote, there should be something that really resonates with you in the currency of attacking people that way. If it doesn't, well, maybe that says something about you too, because that has no place within this. So that's one of the issues that we're running into with comics as well. When you see people like a Gail Simone promoting people that attack Ethan Van Sciver and on, when you see people like Tess Fowler going out and doing the same thing and attacking comic book consumers while they're doing it, it should say something. What it should say to you is, well, this affirms exactly what I've been thinking about comic books. And as you go further and further down that rabbit hole, you'll find yourself not only more and more disgusted by these people, but you'll want to not buy their products. That's where I'm at now. $250 a week. That's where I was before. Now I'm finishing off my trade paperbacks, and I'm not going back. I'm not. I can't do it anymore, and I can't do it because I actually believe in myself a little bit more than I really believe in these people. At one time we were talking escapism, but they have destroyed that commodity. They have allowed it to become something ugly. They have weaponized it. They take their fandom there and they try to throw it at people they disagree with, so they can attack. I mean, if you disagree with that, then go, or you don't believe that, go and look up Kurt Busiek. Go and disagree with him a few times and see exactly how that turns out. See exactly how he tries to weaponize his fandom. It'll really wake you up on that. Or maybe go talk to Jerry Conway and see him, call you an alt-riker or on, somebody that disagrees, but apparently expects you to, they expect you to approach them with nicety while also going out and attacking you while expecting you to spend money too. It's amazing. But anyhow, tell me what you think about this. I'm not really surprised by it when I look at it. Also, the campaign has $210,000 right there at this printing. You can see, the campaign itself. I'll leave a link for this in the description. If you notice that I forget a link or something like that and you want it, just ask about it. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes they don't show up under YouTube and on. But anyhow, tell me what you think. Thank you.